Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
President Biden addressed the nation this evening on the heels of a high-stakes visit to the Middle East. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Carroll, in for Maya Trabulsi. In the second Oval Office address of his term, the president made the case for Americans to back Israel and Ukraine in a time of war.
We cannot and will not let terrorists like Hamas and tyrants like Putin win. I refuse to let that happen. In moments like these, we have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. The United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together.
The president said he is sending an urgent funding request to Congress, asking for additional military assistance for Israel and Ukraine, as well as other national security priorities. Right now, the U.S. State Department is warning all of its embassies and consulates to review their security as the war intensifies between Israeli forces and Hamas. With fears that a humanitarian crisis is spiraling out of control in Gaza, the U.S. and European Union are calling for Israel and Egypt to allow aid across the border. Governor Gavin Newsom is on his way to Israel to meet with those impacted by the war. He made the announcement in a social media post today. This comes ahead of a week-long trip to China planned for next week, where the governor will meet with officials to discuss climate action. Some surprising political news tonight. Recently appointed California Senator LaFonza Butler says she will not run for a full term in 2024. Butler was appointed to the Senate seat earlier this year to fill the remainder of the term left open by the death of the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. The former labor leader and Democratic strategist could have run as an incumbent in the March primary, competing in a field that already includes Democratic Representatives Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee, along with Republicans Eric Early and former baseball star Steve Garvey. Cars can be a lifeline for people experiencing homelessness, but when nighttime comes, they face the challenge of finding a safe space. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says Oceanside is the next city considering a safe parking site.
Every week, Sunny Soto spends her mornings serving breakfast to homeless and vulnerable individuals. She's been doing this for the past 8 years. And in 2021, she started a petition calling for safe lots for RVs in Oceanside.
We need to take action and hit with more solutions because we have the resources to do it. You know, Measure X money.
Measure X was the half-cent sales tax increase Oceanside residents passed in 2018. All revenue from the increase was intended for public safety and city services, including help for homeless people.
We could have used that money to implement a safe lot back then and would have saved lives, you know?
Lives like Tiffany's and Joanna's. They are both living in their cars.
It's just hard being out here on the streets in a car. I thought it was gonna be a lot easier, but it's really just constantly being harassed. Oh, we're gonna take your car from you. We're gonna take your car. We're gonna take your car.
I'm terrified of the police because of the things that police have done to me. So I stay in my car just to stay away from the police and stay out of trouble. Because I'm trying to get in and find a place and get off the streets.
Both agreed that their cars provide a safety net, but at night, the challenge is finding a place to legally and safely park. That is why the Oceanside City Council discussed the possibility of a safe parking site at Wednesday's meeting.
With service providers who are well trained in the industry, they have a really strong track record with programs like this of getting folks into more permanent housing and really preventing a spiral, which is detrimental to all.
This could be the third safe parking site in North County. Jewish Family Services runs the sites in Encinitas and Vista. Sites that Joanna and Tiffany have heard of before, but fear they don't qualify.
They have safe parking there, which is pretty awesome, but I guess you got to get approved or whatever, I don't know.
Oceanside staff will begin to identify sites and a provider to run the safe parking site. A plan that Joanna says can't come soon enough.
What do we have to be? What is it that we have to do to get help? I mean, we're not doing anything illegal. We're trying to do everything legally, staying out of trouble. I don't know what it is. They just don't help us.
A plan is expected to be presented to council in January. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Escondido is moving ahead with water rate increases over the next 5 years. City leaders approved the rate hike last month, saying it was needed to keep the utility department in good financial standing. It comes after the San Diego County Water Authority increased the wholesale rate by nearly 10% over the summer. Escondido buys most of its water from the Water Authority.
It hurts us just like it hurts you. The reality is that we've been dealing with these numbers longer than you have. I would suspect that many of you, if you delve into the numbers like we have for the time that we have, you would probably say, yeah, there's not much room to go anywhere else.
Will increase by 8% in January, followed by a 7.5% increase in 2025, and then again in 2026. It will increase by 6.5% in 2027, and then again the following year. Wastewater and recycled water rates will increase through 2027, starting this January, by 3.5%.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and as we look ahead tonight, we're going to watch some areas of low clouds and fog developing, temperatures turning into the 60s. I will let you know that we're going to slowly start to see temperatures coming back down, maybe an increase of wind, maybe even some showers as we start next week, and then a gradual warm up is on the way. For more on the forecast, it's coming up.
California lawmakers passed a bill that would block prisons from handing some non-citizens over to ICE, but Governor Newsom recently vetoed it. Advocates told KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis they are deeply disappointed.
Sanctuary laws already limit local police and sheriff's departments from helping federal immigration authorities deport people, but those laws don't apply to state prisons. The Home Act would have changed that. More than 100 organizations supported the bill, and not one single group opposed it. Still, Newsom vetoed it. The governor said in a statement that existing law already strikes a right balance in these cases. Advocates are disappointed.
The response is, of course, very frustrated, very discouraged to hear that he's vetoed, but we don't give up, you know. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting.
Robert Vivas is with the San Diego Immigrants' Rights Consortium. He says the state's practice right now is to turn people over to ICE once they've earned parole. This includes veterans and people who've been released under criminal justice reforms.
You know, you might say that's double jeopardy. You're paying twice for the same mistake.
Critics say Newsom's veto sends the wrong message, and it contradicts his stated support for California's immigrant communities.
He's not going for the values of California, the values that he says he stands for. So it's a total hypocrisy.
Naya Norn is the co-director of the Asian Prisoners Support Committee. She says the Home Act would apply to inmates who go through the state's rigorous parole process.
They tell me our number one concern is, through this hearing, whether we believe you will be a risk or a safety risk to the community or not.
A process that determines that they're no longer a risk to the community. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Chula Vista moved forward this week with plans to install a new network of license plate readers. KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki says it's the latest city to expand use of this controversial technology.
On Tuesday, the Chula Vista City Council voted to purchase a powerful new system of 150 license plate readers for its police department. The system will take a picture of any plate that comes into view, and then will allow police to automatically compare the plate number to lists of vehicles that they're looking for. The city plans to buy the cameras from Flock Safety, an Atlanta-based surveillance company that's drawn criticism for the way that it handles license plate data. Police said the readers would help them track stolen vehicles.
Unequivocally, without hesitation, I'll tell anybody who will listen that we're going to use this technology to catch the criminals who prey on the victims in our city.
But privacy advocates warn that Chula Vista authorities have a record of misusing that information. Pedro Rios is a local activist who served on the city's Technology and Privacy Task Force.
CVPD had shared that information about vulnerable communities to Border Patrol, to ICE, and to HSI. So, in fact, vulnerable communities are indeed impacted when there is negligence about the misuse of surveillance technology.
The police department has proposed installing most of the plate readers on the city's west side, which could also disproportionately target residents of more underserved neighborhoods. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
Nearly 1 million people in schools, businesses, and government offices in our county dropped, covered, and held on for the Great California Shakeout today. Around 10 million people participated throughout the state. This marks the 15th year of the statewide earthquake preparedness drill. Here in San Diego, students had the chance to simulate the earthquake experience inside the Shake trailer that was created by the California Office of Emergency Services.
So it's great for kids to be out here. Many of them have not experienced an earthquake in their lifetime, at least a strong one that can be felt. So this way they get an opportunity to experience it, to see what it would feel like, and to know that they can take action that would help protect them so that they're not going to be injured. It makes it less scary for them, and then they can go home and talk to their parents about what they did.
State officials believe an earthquake of 7.8 magnitude or higher along the San Andreas Fault could kill thousands, injure tens of thousands, and cause $200 billion worth of damage. They recommend all Californians prepare for such an event by keeping on hand a first aid kit, medications, food, and enough water to last 72 hours. For the better part of 2 decades, Twitter has been an important hub for scientists to share ideas and keep up with each other's work. Last year, mercurial billionaire Elon Musk bought the social media platform. Now, many scientists have fled that platform, no longer seeing it as the best place to be. SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge has this story of Twitter and what it's become.
There have been a lot of changes at Twitter. In fact, you're not even supposed to call it that. It's been renamed and rebranded as X, the name favored by Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and the world's richest man. Despite the changes, it's still widely used and valued by scientists, but they are seeing a lot less of what they used to like.
What I like is the latest and greatest academic, vigorous discussions, links to new things, education. I'm seeing less of that.
Aaron Goodman is a cancer physician and researcher at UC San Diego who says he's seeing a lot more of what he calls BS on his platform feed, polarizing content and stuff that looks like it came from bots.
I don't have strong opinions on Elon Musk. My opinion is Twitter is worse since Elon Musk took over. My user experience is worse.
He's not alone. Miguel Reyna Campos is a postdoctoral fellow and an immunologist also at UCSD. He says the platform used to be democratic and accessible, but things have changed after Musk began letting people pay to promote their content and to receive the blue check, formerly a Twitter guarantee that a content source was legitimate.
So when you change that core underlying rule of the system, then everything gets starts shifting again to a point where now you were not seeing things that you were interested in, you're seeing things that people have paid for.
In another controversial move, Musk allowed Donald Trump back on the platform. Trump had been banned after the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Earlier this year, National Public Radio and KPBS stopped posting on Twitter after Musk called NPR state-affiliated media. X did not respond to a request for comment.
When he took over,
Rebecca Nee is a journalism professor at San Diego State. She says Musk's political views tend toward conspiracy theories, and his content preferences were clear when he began laying off staff.
He fired a lot of people, and a lot of those people had been working on the content moderation issues of trying to take down disinformation and shut down trolls and bot accounts. And all of that went out the window.
Nee says in its glory days, Twitter was a forum scientists could use to get out from behind the walls of their peer-reviewed journals. And they still do that, but faith in the platform has diminished. The best evidence of the departure of scientists from X came in an article in the journal Nature this August. Their survey showed about 7% left the site altogether, and nearly half of those polled recently joined competitors like Blue Sky and Threads. Yuri Manor is a San Diego cell biologist at UC San Diego. He says he doesn't discount the criticisms of the platform, and he agrees with some, but he has a caveat.
Somehow people seem to think that these other sites are going to be better because maybe they're not run by Elon or by Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical that it's their fault that these places can suck sometimes.
Biologist Reina Campos is dismayed by the new management and their apparent tweaks to the algorithms, but he's still using it.
I haven't found anything as good as Twitter yet.
That's a link to the paper. Someone could read the paper and clearly see my opinion, and then, let's see, there's engagement. Thank God
Aaron Goodman shows me his X feed with its posted studies and comments. Like Goodman, virtually all of the scientists I spoke to for this story are still using X, though they agree it's not what it used to be. If the cost to scientists is a degraded social media platform, the cost to Elon Musk was also considerable. He bought Twitter in 2022 for $44 billion. He admitted in a post last month that it's now worth considerably less. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
A community park is undergoing major renovations for the first time in more than 50 years. John F. Kennedy Park in the Lincoln Park neighborhood is getting nearly $5 million in upgrades. They include new restrooms, play structures, benches, and security lighting.
This community feel more safer, especially walking around. The change of time, it gets darker early.
The project is funded through Community Development Block Grant funds and development impact fees. It's expected to be finished in about a year. And now to our ongoing series on public art. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson peels back the layers of one South Park mural.
A 3-story Burmese monk towers over Ivy Street. There's no signature on the mural, but the red hues and thick black lines are reminiscent of Obama's Hope poster and the Obey Giant sticker, a clue that it was painted by famous street artist Shepard Fairey. He painted it in 2010 and said it was a better experience than the police harassment he received when he lived here in the late 90s and early 2000s.
He was literally almost on probation for putting up stickers.
That's Museum of Contemporary Art San Diego Senior Director Jenna Jacobs. She says the monk is one of the only remaining murals from a 2010 exhibition on art and urban landscape. She says it helped pave a way for street artists to be seen as legitimate.
In the decades plus that it's been since that show happened, a lot has happened commercially and in pop, kind of language vernacular to have artists that previously would never have shown in a museum space. Many of them you do see galleries now, famous galleries.
Street art opens up an often elitist, costly world. It gives marginalized artists a way to show their work and art viewers a way to see it for free. Like the protests of Burmese monks against the military dictatorship of Myanmar, Fairey saw street art as nonviolent protest, a way to cause people to question the systems under which they live. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
You can find more of our stories in the Public Art series on our website. Just go to kpbs.org/publicart. The number of reported UFO sightings is rising. That's according to the director of the Pentagon's UFO office. The majority of the reports turned out to be balloons or drones, but some do require further investigation. The Federal Aviation Administration is also now providing information to the Pentagon, which contributes to the increase in reports.
Good news, if you have not been enjoying this hot pattern that we've been in, the heat's beginning to back off. The wind, though, may pick up a bit as we head into the weekend, and then enjoy the maybe lower temperatures while we have that, because we will watch a gradual warming trend again as we head into next week. Some low clouds, some fog developing through late tonight. Oceanside 56, San Diego 64, Borrego Springs a clearer sky 68, and Mount Laguna down to 57. It will still be unseasonably warm as we head into the day on Friday, but we will be watching a change as we head into the weekend. So looking into the day tomorrow, still Oceanside hitting 80, San Diego 78, Borrego Springs, look at you at 102, and Mount Laguna, warm for you this time of year, into the upper 60s. But here we go on Saturday as we get more of that onshore flow returning. That's sending cooler conditions along the coast, even further inland. Meanwhile, the rest of the Southwest does still stay unseasonably warm on Saturday, but a nice pattern change on the way next week. Notice this dip in the jet stream here. That's going to allow temperatures to be about 15 to 25 degrees lower compared to where we've been this week. Meanwhile, the places that have been cooler will start to warm them up and become a bit drier. We should be mainly dry along the coast here over the next couple of days, maybe a shower or two in some places as we head into the day on Monday. Temperatures come back down to the 70s and 60s before slowly climbing as we head into next week. Inland we go. We're another hot day for Friday, but notice temperatures dropping off. 80s on Saturday, 70s on Sunday, 60s as we head into Monday with more clouds. Into the mountains where temperatures will really start to nosedive here. Take a look at Monday. Windy, temperatures only into the 40s, 50s by Tuesday. And we'll be seeing a noticeable cool down in the deserts from triple-digit heat to wrap up the week. Still hot on Saturday, but the temperatures back to the 70s as we head into Monday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
Here's another look at today's top stories. Oceanside is the next city considering a safe parking site. The proposal was discussed at last night's city council meeting. City staff will begin to identify sites and providers to operate it. A plan is expected to be presented to the council in January. It would be the third safe parking site in North County. A bill that would block prisons from handing non-citizens over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement will not become law. Governor Newsom vetoed the HOME Act, citing existing sanctuary laws. Advocates say sanctuary laws limit local police and sheriff's departments from helping federal immigration authorities, but those laws don't apply to state jails. Chula Vista moving forward with plans to install a new network of license plate readers for its police department. This week, the city council voted unanimously to purchase 150 readers from Atlanta-based company Flock Safety. The company has been criticized for its handling of data. Police say the readers would help them track stolen vehicles. Privacy advocates warned the technology could be misused. Dia de los Muertos is a holiday tradition that began south of the border and has since grown into celebrations across the world. KPBS education reporter M.G. Perez tells us an altar is the focus of the holiday, providing an opportunity for students to learn about their culture and legacy.
7-year-old Leo Zuniga is learning more about his heritage.
Voy a dar una corta introducción sobre el Día de los Muertos.
He is a second-grade student here at the Language Academy in the college area. These classmates are immersed in the Spanish language and the culture that celebrates and honors its dead with vivid memories and materials.
You put their favorite things that they like, and then their souls. And if you put the bread, they can the souls can eat it.
The Dia de los Muertos holiday is built on tradition and an altar, 3 levels of love and legacy.
Every part of this altar has a significance.
Linda Bajorges is the Spanish immersion teacher, using her own personal story in lesson plans for the next week. Her late husband, Bruce, is included in this classroom altar. He died suddenly of a heart attack 4 years ago. The lesson of the ofrenda, as it's called in Spanish, includes happy memories.
Not be sad, which is one of the things I tell the kids. It's not a time to be sad. It's a time to be joyful and remember our loved ones.
Anima que nos visita.
The message is getting through.
You put all the stuff that they like, and then on the middle row, you put pictures, and on the top row, you put flowers.
The color is very meaningful.
Luis Altamirano has 25 years' experience teaching Spanish, which includes the Mexican culture he comes from. The items of the altar are personal for him, too, especially dedicated to one particular relative.
My cousin, that he died of cancer. He loved hamburgers, so I tried to bring a hamburger and, wrap it and keep it there.
Altamirano teaches over 100 middle school students at the Language Academy. They are building their own ofrenda over the next couple of weeks, featuring the iconic calaveras, or skulls, and remembrances of their own loved ones.
Nowadays, with everything moving so fast, sometimes we tend to forget.
These students have not forgotten, and in fact have learned a lot about their heritage and history. 8-year-old Mia Ackerman is especially impressed by the incense.
It was something they'd put on the altar to keep the bad spirits away, and so the good ones can be here without any danger and problem.
That is certainly something to celebrate. MG Perez, KPBS News.
KPBS is hosting a digital community ofrenda, or altar, where you can celebrate a loved one who has passed away. You can share photos and memories through our website at kpbs.org/Day of the Dead. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. As we reported, President Biden made the case in a rare Oval Office address for American taxpayers to back Israel and Ukraine. NPR's Morning Edition will break down what happens next. And KPBS Roundtable is hosting a panel discussion of mental health care reform efforts here in California. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.